What's up guys, it's GamerMD83 and today I'm going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart. The video game series I've been most loyal to since I was a little kid, Harvest Moon. So as you guys might know, Natsume officially announced their next Harvest Moon title right before E3 this year, called Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley. I actually had an appointment with Natsume to see this Harvest Moon title, but unfortunately I was unable to keep that appointment due to so much hecticness in an already hectic schedule, but I'm pretty sure all of E3 heard my heart shatter in that moment. Anyways, I was already aware of a Harvest Moon game being made that was coming for the 3DS due to its release earlier this year in Japan. I had already seen screenshots and even gameplay, and people were translating the title to Harvest Moon Connect to a New Land, as well as other similar translations of the title. So when Natsume announced The Lost Valley, I immediately thought it was that same game with its official English translated title, but I was wrong. Before I go into those details, however, let me first explain a little bit of background when it comes to those companies involved in the distribution of Harvest Moon. I know I hate the business end of things as well, but I promise it will make more sense this way. Okay, so we all know that the Harvest Moon series originates from Japan. But the reason why I put that in quotes is because in Japan, the game has never been called Harvest Moon. It's called Bukojo Monogatari, which translates to Farm Story. And the name Harvest Moon isn't even owned by the makers of Bukojo Monogatari or Marvelous AQL, the game's Japanese development and publishing company. It's owned by Natsume. Natsume has had relations with Marvelous for many years now and were the ones in charge of distributing the game to America under the name Harvest Moon. Enter Xseed. Since 2004, Xseed has been a sub-publisher of Marvelous AQL, and pretty much did the same thing that Natsume would do, distribute their games to America. But even then, Natsume was still in charge of Harvest Moon. The one game that had shared distribution by both Xseed and Natsume was Rune Factory, a spin-off of Bokujo Monogatari, until Rune Factory 4 was released last year, when Neverland, the studio behind the series, filed for bankruptcy. I'm sure the series will still be kept alive by Marvelous AQL, but regardless, I truly hope those Neverland workers were able to find a good job in the industry since then. So it seems like after all of this, Marvelous AQL decided to keep the distribution of Bokujo Monogatari in-house, meaning Xseed. Which brings me to what is going on with Harvest Moon currently. The Harvest Moon games we all grew up loving for many years will no longer be called Harvest Moon. Why? Because remember, the title was owned by Natsume, but Natsume is no longer distributing the games. So this new game that Natsume announced, Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley, actually has nothing to do with the Harvest Moon we have grown to know. It's a completely new series now, with nothing to do with the Japanese creators of the series of Bokujo Monogatari. It's still a farm simulator, and it still has a lot of the same gameplay aspects of the series, but it's not the same, just familiar. So when I thought Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley was the Harvest Moon game I had been seeing from Japan since early this year, I was very wrong. Not only wrong, but very surprised when I saw the trailer for it. I was expecting to see the more anime-ish art style that Harvest Moon has been taking for the past few years, but instead, I saw something that looked very similar to Hometown Story. I was like, now don't get me wrong, I'm still intrigued with this new title and will most likely still end up getting it, but when I saw the trailer for this different game, I literally had a moment where I felt my stomach sink, because I thought that meant that the Japanese game was not going to be brought to the US. But fortunately, it is. The game that I've been looking forward to for nearly a year, the one that belongs in the series that we've all grown up with, the one that comes from the original creators of Bokujo Monogatari, is called Story of Seasons. This whole craziness literally confused the hell out of me, and I know that even though it may not have confused a lot of you, especially if you had no clue about the Japanese game that had been released this year, I think it's very important to inform you guys, especially the fans of the series, to know that the series we grew up with is now called Story of Seasons. It is still being developed by Marvelous AQL, but will now be distributed by Xseed. And Harvest Moon is now a separate series with the same ideas, being developed by Natsume. Even though my loyalties lie with Story of Seasons, I still hold a soft spot for Natsume and truly hope the new Harvest Moon series continues to flourish. Plus, how exciting is it to have two different Harvest Moon games coming to the Nintendo 3DS in the same year? Anyways, hopefully that made sense. Obviously, I'm much more excited for Story of Seasons. I've been watching Japanese announcements for that game since late 2013, but Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley has intrigued me enough to want to know more about this new direction Natsume is taking. Hopefully you guys found this interesting and it clarified a few things. Check out the full trailers for both games in the description. The Story of Seasons English trailer is pretty lame though, so I suggest you look at some of the Japanese footage instead. What you should search for in order to do that will be in the description down below as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.